Hey, what's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be doing a video podcast because it's going to make it a lot easier to show you what I'm about to show you. Today I'm going to be talking about adapting. I can't talk tonight. It's late. It's been a long day. Adapting works for opera. Now, some of you may be thinking, what does he mean by adapting? So adapting to me means that you take a work that's already done and you do more than set it in a different place and still perform it as is. You literally change the words and the storyline and potentially the setting. It just depends on what you want to do. So for me, it's such a valuable tool to help bring people into opera that aren't already in it, because a lot of people's problems stem from the fact that it's in a language that they don't understand. Um, and there's all these other things that we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast, why people don't go, but they should go. And so this is a way for us as artists to bridge that gap. So for me, I've done, like 6 or 7 shows that I've rewritten, something like that. My first one was The Marriage of Figaro. The second I co-wrote, which was Bohème. And then those were fairly standard, so to speak. The goal for those was just to modernize the language. Bohème, we did set it in Seattle, so there's a few Seattle references, but overall, really, yeah, it's just updating the language for the most part. Now, where I started to go off the wagon in either a great or not great way, depending on how you want to look at it, is from there. My next show was a campus rape culture version of Don Giovanni, which was a lot of fun. And at the time, very topical. From there, I set Carmen in a rural strip club in the middle of America. And then I wrote a Real Housewives version of La Belle Hélène. And all of those shows so far that I've mentioned have been performed. Now, shortly after The Real Housewives of Sparta is what I called it, was done, I started writing a version of The Elixir of Love, which is back onto the same vein of Figaro and Bohème, which is more just an updated version, except it did have a female Duke Amata, which I think is a lot of fun because she's a bartender, and it's cool. I can't wait for that one to be performed. And right now, if you haven't been following along on the podcast, I'm working on a version of Verdi's Rigoletto featuring Jeffrey Epstein, everyone's favorite pedophile. That's a terrible way of putting that, but I think you know what I mean. I shouldn't say favorite. He is the most well-known human sex trafficker of recent memory. And I'll eventually get into why I chose him and why Rigoletto and all that stuff later on. But so now let's talk about, what do you do to adapt a work? Well, number one, you need to be inspired. Okay. Even if you're just rewriting to update the language, you got to be inspired by something. It just makes the job a lot easier. Okay. The second thing is you need to decide what you're going to cut, if anything. For me, I cut things down to around an hour. So, I mean, we're talking cutting shows in half, potentially by 2/3. Obviously, having to cut out characters and scenes. The added benefit is there's less to write, but also you get the best music of the show. So, pros and cons. And I've yet to really have anybody at least say to my face that my adaptations were, not good or terrible or whatever. So there's probably haters out there. Let's just be real. There's haters for everything. If you say you like dogs, they're going to say you hate cats. Like, come on, let's be real here. So, yeah, so you got to pick your inspiration and cut it down. And then you need to prepare your score. Now, there's a lot of people who have different ways that they do that. I just want to kind of show you what I do. Here, let me pull up what I'm currently working on. Okay, so what is going on here? Oh, I'm sharing the screen now. Am I? Thank you, Zoom, for letting me know this. I'm trying something new here. Okay, so where is this? Let's go into this. Okay, so I want to get the most recent version here. So right now, I'm calling it the Lolita Express, which, if you know anything about Jeffrey Epstein, that's what he called his whole service, if you will, of getting rich and powerful men access to these girls. So you have your title page, and then this is the first time I've ever done this. I had an inspiration section where it kind of tells you a little bit of why this story, and all that stuff. And that's a lot of red underneath. I'm not sure why it's doing that. I'm not that bad of a writer. So anyway, and then of course I always have a character synopsis and then a setting. And in this one, unlike previous ones, I only give the setting prior to this. I give like a really brief synopsis of what's going to happen, but this one I don't. Okay, so then I put in the score, and basically, how do I Control Z? Let's put that back. No, don't do that. Screwing up all my stuff here. What is going on? There we go. Nope. Oh, come on. I know this is enthralling theater for you guys here. I gotta get this all back to where it should be. And then, okay. Anyway, so what I've done is I went into IMSLP, which is a website that a lot of singers and musicians use. It's basically all public domain music, and I downloaded a version of the Rigoletto score, and I got those and imported them into this, and then eventually I had to go through and white out a bunch of stuff, so to speak, and clear it. And so this usually has da 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 da, has words there, but as you can see, I've covered them up. And then later I'll go in and put in the words. Okay, and so you basically do that for the entire show that you're going to do. Now there are instances, for example, where a lot of times you see how they already have the characters there, but there are instances, not here. Let's see. This is Parisiamo. So right here, you'll see we have Giovanna. Giovanna is actually not a character in my version of it. This is going to be Borsa, who is going to be Ghislaine Maxwell in the Jeffrey Epstein story. It will be either a tenor in drag or preferably a mezzo or contralto. We'll see how it turns out. But yeah, so you got to go in and make all those changes. Now here's another thing that I do as well. Let me get a good example here. Let's go towards the bottom. Okay, so this is the Rigoletto quartet, the infamous quartet. It's right after this. So we have the storm scene, and for example, you see down here in the right corner how there's a section that's taken off. This is actually a choral section for the offstage chorus. Whoop, Control Z, right? So, no, why do you hate me? Come on now. No. There we go. Okay. So you'll see got this offstage chorus here. And so I just blanked it out. And because it's being doubled in the piano down at the bottom, I just left it there. But you have to like make sure everything's covered. And there's other parts where the piano has to jump back and forth between playing the chorus stuff because they're not playing anything actually in theirs and all that. So long and short of it is everything gets played how I want it. And so you cut, paste, make cuts as necessary, other cuts like this one. This is the end of Rigoletto's big aria here on this page. And then we're jumping right to the beginning of La Donna Immobile. So yeah, you just basically make all the cuts put it all in there and go from there and write your story. So yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to have your inspiration. You got to then figure out how you're going to cut it, and you got to clear it out and make the score exactly how you want it. And then comes the real fun but also challenging part, which is obviously writing your story. So I hope that that gives you a little taste. I'm going to be doing a lot more of this kind of stuff as time goes on, so I can give you a an idea of what it's like to adapt an opera and where the progress goes with my show. So hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. We're here a little under a week out, and look forward to hearing you. If you have any comments about what you think, definitely let us know. And if you are someone who is in the opera world and you like adapting, what are some of the ones that you've done? Tell me about them, right? I have lots of things that I've done, and I'd love to share more about those with you. And I'd love to hear your ideas, because the world's your oyster, right? You can do whatever you want. You got lots of companies who do really innovative and cool stuff, like Pacific Opera Project and people like that. And so, hey, this is a creative art form. Let's obviously be creative and show it to other people. So if nothing else, we can be inspired by you, but even better, we might be able to find a way to get your stuff done, right? Why not? Let's all work together. Anyway, hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk at you soon.